Peace to the family. This is So Conscious TV. Today, we're going to discuss the origins of the King James Bible Reloaded. So let's get it started with the Adam and Eve story. The story of Adam and Eve is taken from many different sources. It's taken from the creation story of Enki and Enlil. It's also taken from the Kemetic story as well. But there's many different connections on it, and there's many different levels to explain the creation of Adam and Eve and the story of the tree of knowledge and dealing with the serpent. So, in the temple of Ramses III at Mediat Habu in Luxor, Egypt, King Ramses III of the 20th dynasty, the hieroglyphs describe how King Ramses was seeking wisdom to rule his kingdom when a woman named Seshat shows up. She grants him wisdom by giving him fruit that she pulled from the tree of knowledge. He is later able to bring order and repel the foreign invaders. Unlike the misapplied and commonly understood story of Adam and Eve, the woman in ancient Kemet and of African spiritual science is a source of wisdom, not a source of evil or temptation. In fact, it is a woman who initiates the man into knowledge. So as you can see, this is Seshat right here, giving him fruit from the tree of knowledge. So in that way, he can better, command the troops with and whatnot and run things. And on a deeper note, the first man created himself, supposedly from a mountain of dust, is a tomb. In science, you have an atom, which is made of 6 protons, 6 electrons, and 6 neutrons. Then you have religion, which is atom, which is according to Christianity, or the Constantine religion, is the first man created.
You had me
from dust. You dig what I'm saying? So
dust.
It's all connected. Dust.
Literally, you got me from dust.
Now,
bro, see, you the first man on earth. See, yeah, baby.
Now, if we're talking about the metaphysical meaning, the Adam and the Eve story is a Kundalini story that is written within everyone on the backside and sealed with 7 seals. The 7 seals can represent the 7 chakras, because through the 7 chakras, from the root chakra all the way up to the crown chakra, is when you truly find God and reach Christ-like consciousness. So remember, you have the divine masculine and the divine feminine, because the Kundalini energy goes up and it spirals down, because energy spirals. Just like DNA. DNA is going in a spiral. Whenever you see the serpents, in those times, the serpents represent healing and wisdom. That's why whenever you see a medical sign, you see the 2 serpents spiraling up. And as far as the names like Pingala, Shiva, Osiris, Ida, Shatsky, Isis, Shushuma, that's basically giving you all the different aspects of different cultures and spiritual systems, because all the goddesses and all the guys go back to the god and the goddess. So let's keep it moving. Bam. Now let's go over the Cain and Abel story. Cain supposedly slayed Abel. Cain supposedly slayed Abel. Cain had found a wife in the land of Nod. But the funny thing is, nobody knows where these people came from. Like, where did they historically exist on a geographical map? And give me the historian who recorded these events. And you really can't, because this is all an allegory. They really didn't exist. But the story of Cain and Abel comes from the story of Seth and Osiris. Seth slaying Osiris. But Seth later in religious mythology becomes Satan. So you have the Egyptian version or the Kemetic version with Set and Horus or Heru. And then later on in the Roman version, you have Satan, which represents darkness and evil, and lightness, which is good, which represents Jesus, the Savior, or the Christ. Basically going into now the story of Noah and the flood. Let's just use common sense. There's no way in the world you could have got all them damn animals on one little bitty ark to get from one place to another. Like, where in the world they're like the zebras and the birds and this. Come on, man, it doesn't make sense. Geographically speaking, those crocodiles and alligators couldn't survive without being on a hot continent. So it's like when you put logical thought to this, some of this doesn't make sense. But I'm finna give you the science and the knowledge on it. The story of Noah's Ark is derived from many different origins of the Sumerian, ancient Babylon, but let's first go into the Kemetic or the Egyptian. The Ark itself is based on Khufu's ship. This is a real ship that really did sail the seas, and it was used for fishing, and it has been historically dated, and it's already like, you know, something that is something tangible, something that it did exist, something that has historical dates and proof. You know, they claim that in Israel and places that they found Noah's Ark, that's all gained. You know, he who creates the printed page controls the thinking of the age. You must challenge everything. So, the story of Noah's Ark is derived from the Epic of Gilgamesh, which describes the ancient flood story, thousands and thousands and thousands of years before the Noah's Ark story, and it's on the ancient Sumerian tablets. Once again, Atrahasis, the Babylonian story of the flood that predates Noah's Ark by thousands of years. So let's keep it moving. Another stolen story by the Israelites. David and Goliath, 10th century BCE, challenged by Goliath to a one-on-one battle, slew Goliath and cut off his head, favored in the eyes of King Saul. There you have Sinue and Retinue, 20th century BCE, challenged by Retinue to a one-on-one battle, slew Retinue and cut off his head, favored in the eyes of Pharaoh Amenemhet. So, you know, as you can see, Christianity is derived from ancient African spiritual systems, basically from Kemeticism or ancient Egyptian, Babylonian, and Sumerian texts. You know, like, that's what it is. I mean, you can agree to disagree, but challenge the information and the evidence. You know, when I put these things before you, it's kind of tit for tat. You know, kind of like, it's not really, you know, to give you the striking blow, the deadly blow. It's to kind of like put some food for thought on the table, so in that way you can challenge what I'm saying and do your own extensive research. I can't do it all for you. Okay, that rod and that staff, they comfort me. This right here is the original authentic, and it is actually not a rod and a staff. It is actually a flail and crook. So this is where you get thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. This is the original authentic, worn by all the pharaohs, you know, Asar, Osiris, and all the other commanding pharaohs when not are people of power, in a position of power, of royalty, that was over a dynasty or whatnot, or that served a certain purpose, or for the gods and goddesses, or the Neters and Neterus. As you can see, this cartoonish painting, you know, this right here is on the wall. So, you know, like Destiny Child said, the writing's on the wall. Let's keep it moving. Then you also have basically the origins of all of your biblical folklore, which is stolen knowledge and allegory. So when we're talking about the biblical Jacob, 1758, 1611 BC, which comes from King Jacobert, which predates him. The same thing with your biblical King David. He is preceded by your Pharaoh Susanes. The same thing with your biblical King Solomon. He is preceded by Pharaoh Siamun. And the same thing with your your biblical Moses. Biblical Moses, during or depending on which period of time that you're describing Moses or what he's going through in the Bible, can be derived from a whole bunch of kings and queens or gods and goddesses. But for the most part, he is derived, or the persona is derived from the Pharaoh Tutmos III. So let's keep it moving.
Boy.
The word Israel itself. The word Israel itself is derived from the words Isis, Ra, and El. Isis being the Kemetic goddess, which is the goddess of death and rebirth, love goddess, the moon goddess. You have Ra, which is the sun. You have El, which means God, and Elohim, which means the gods or the God within. Let's go to the deeper esoteric meaning. Isis, the mother, the matrix, matter, female. Ra, father, spirit, pattern, male. And El, which equals the life force. So everything has a deeper meaning. You can judge religion on the lowest level, which is the literal level. You can go on the metaphysical level, the esoteric level. You can deal with the astronomy and the astrology. You can deal with the magic. You can deal with the free Masonic references. So it's many different levels that it can be described on. Genesis means genes of Isis, or the generations of Isis, because we all come from the woman or the womb man. So you have to understand the meaning of words, or study the etymology and the roots of words, because a lot of people say they all get out of Egypt, the Egyptians were evil, but a lot of your damn words come from Egypt or Kemet, and you lose a lot, and you use a lot of symbology and a lot of you know what I'm saying, like Kemetic symbols, you know what I mean? The Egyptian Trinity, Osiris the father, Isis the mother, Horus the child, is the original Holy Trinity. So Osiris, deemed by the Greeks, which is really Asar, Isis, named by the Greeks, which is really Aset, and Horus, named by the Greeks, which is really Heru. So now we go into how everything started. So before you got Mayat, not Mayat, but you have Isis and Horus, which is really Aset and Heru. Afterwards, you get Black Madonna and Black Child, and then way after you get Mary and Jesus. So let's keep it moving. So the Father, Mother, and Child are the original Holy Trinity. Our story, ancient Kemet, Egypt, was not the first, but one of many, a long line of African societies that had African spirituality as a righteous base. Observing the principles of Mayat, the knowledge and the reverence of the black woman as co-creator, spirit is very evident in our indigenous cultures, all throughout the continent and around the globe. His story. European and Arab invaders obviously have problems with the female and have removed her altogether from their perversions of our ancestor spirituality and replaced her with a ghost or the Holy Spirit. Common sense. Observable nature clearly shows that nothing comes into existence without the feminine energy. So wake up, wise up, and rise up. And as far as the concept of angels, they all come from Mayat. This is a picture of Mayat, who represented the universal balance and was basically like the universal judge of righteousness. So you have your 7 days of the week, you have your 7 planetary glyphs, you have your 7 chakras, you have your 7 hermetic principles, you have your 7 laws of Mayat, you have your 7 levels of heaven, you have everything in 7. So that's what it is. As far as the potter's wheel, and could y'all excuse me for 1 second and keep it down? I'm trying to give a class and y'all talking right through the class and I'm recording live, and it really sounds bad. I apologize, family. We trying to keep it moving. As far as the creator's wheel story, would and would not, you have Khnum. That's basically where your creator's or your potter's wheel comes from. And as you can see, this is a picture of Khnum, who has a man on the wheel. And he is basically creating the Ka and the Ba, which is the spirit and the soul. So that's basically the origin of your potter's wheel story. And this is on the wall. And as far as the Sumerian, you have Enki, who is the potter as well. So there are a lot of origins of your biblical stories, because a lot of them come from Sumerian and the ancient Egyptian. Khnum, man with the head of a curly horned ram. Khnum was a creator god, molding people on a potter's wheel. Thousands and thousands of years before Christianity.
Let's go.
And as you can see before, you have Aset and Heru. After you have the Black Madonna and child. And way after you have Mary and Jesus. And then you see, as you can see, you have the Pope John Paul II kissing the Black Madonna. As you can see, he's giving reverence and honoring the black woman. Right here's the original, the symbol of Kemet. And then you have the copy, which is the Great Seal of the United States of America. Here you have the original Holy Trinity. And then you have the Christianity copy of Mary, Jesus, and Joseph. So that's basically class for today. Peace to the family. Please like, subscribe to the channel. Sorry for the interruption. I know it's a little bit unprofessional, but sometimes you gotta do what you gotta do in your house, family. Peace.